So, instant gratification. That's the world that we live in now. Everything has to be done tomorrow. Everything we desire has got to be at our fingertips. So how appropriate, I guess, we find ourselves here on Locker when you're talking about instant gratification. But is there no positivity to waiting? If you're a Guinness drinker, then I guess perhaps the answer to that would be yes, but I honestly believe there are some positives to it. I hate running out of a cinema the moment the last image fades out and people just crushing for the exits, or bum rushing people in a disorganised scrum for whatever event or poorly planned seating arrangement happens to be going on at the time. And some of you remember, and some of you won't, that years ago nothing was instant. You had to wait a whole week for every TV series you watched. The internet, when it started, took minutes just to load a JPEG, and your only DLC was the next installment of the game, if that came at all. Today, I'm asking, is the speed of gratification a negative as much as it is a positive? Specifically in relation to the games I play, like Battlefield. The opening of the CTE for Battlefield was no doubt a positive thing. It allowed players to test, recommend improvements to the game overall, and you can say it's been received very positively by the community. But now, with the latest DLC being opened twice through the CTE, showcasing in detail the new maps and the expansion, for me it's taking away the excitement of release, where we only get perhaps 1 day or 2 days before it goes live. Now it's true that posting it out to the public enables the testing, and it should provide for a smoother release overall. That's a good thing. So I don't know, maybe I'm just not feeling it so much. What we're seeing, it's not bad from the outset. Rather, I'm remembering that what it is we're losing by moving towards this direction. And what we're losing, I guess, is the fun and the excitement of being hands-on with something that we've only glimpsed at or seen but not experienced. Obviously, many people who don't have the CTE or that platform access didn't have that opportunity, but it seems to be moving in the direction of something that is going to be replicated more in the future. Do we want that? I feel that the majority of you are going to say, yes, yes, for God's sake, Luton, of course, why wouldn't you want that? Well, maybe you're right. But I can't help but feel, as I have done in the past with some games, where they give you so much testing time and so much access to the product, that by the time it comes to an actual release, you feel like you've already had your time with it. And worryingly, I'm feeling like that about Final Stand, I've got to be honest. Now, before you try to pin me down and cut my throat, okay, let me explain. The DLC on Early Access, to me, is not the same as something like, say, Star Citizen or Prison Architect or any number of early access titles. The main reason being that those games are allowing you to see non-finalized versions of the core game itself, although Prison Architect, I guess, is kind of like an ongoing development, so it's not quite the same. But anyway, the DLC for Battlefield 4 and CTA is not this. It's just essentially, for want of not making it sound so simplistic, a map pack, albeit with some nice new details and embellishments. Not to mention the fact that we are, let's face it, walking towards the end of the primary cycle on Battlefield 4. So I guess what I feel is that at this stage, I need as much of that new excitement as possible to keep me inspired and playing. DLCs on average keep me specifically interested in them for, I guess, like 2-3 weeks, and then you fall back into whatever it is, that you regularly enjoy. With Final Stand, I don't know how I feel right now. I feel like we've played each of the maps pretty extensively, seen all the new elements, all the new content. There's no surprises here. There's the obvious sword of Damocles that's hovering above my head right now, and I can hear you guys typing it out already, is just don't play the CTE then. Well, very true, well said, okay. But then two things. First of all, despite me making a video on this topic, it's not life or death, is it? Okay, I'm still going to play it, I still want to enjoy it, but really, I'm just thinking about the process by which we engage with the content, how it's changed, how that changes how we feel about games overall, and more than anything else, I'm thinking about it not from just my point of view, but other people's points of view. One of the things that is important to me as a gamer is longevity. It's important to devs and producers too, because they want to keep the audience engaged. Now, I've used the example before, and I will use it again, of Titanfall. For me, that game was so exciting when I got to preview it, when I went to the events and I got to test it, see it before it came out. We played it a ton. It was amazing, fun, hilarious. This game seems like a winner. But then at release, it just felt flat. And I was like, I've done this. I've played the mechanics. It can't hold my attention. Now that's coming from someone who happily spend 20, 40 minutes just observing enemy positions on Arma 3. You know, so I hope you can appreciate that when something won't hold my attention, that's saying something, right? So anyway, where do I come down on this? Let's be honest. My opinion tends to not follow the majority. Okay, it rarely happens here or in my real life. So I have no problem admitting that most people won't agree with me and just want everything now, now, now. Okay, so I guess all I'm going to say is that I understand the positives and I agree on them. Allowing for good public testing in this situation is not a bad thing at all. If I want to preserve the mystique, I'll just put myself in a bubble until release of that said product. It wouldn't be the first time that I've done this for a game. For many single player games I do this. It actually bothers me sometimes how much a dev is willing to release about a title which is primarily selling you on its narrative. So when it comes to multiplayer games though, it's usually more easily avoided unless it's at its initial release. Back in the past, the only gameplay you'd experience early on would be magazine demo discs for PlayStation, etc. You know, Jesus, like back in the day, gaming editorials really were the ones with the power. Now, of course, it's not just your own demos, it's YouTube, it's Twitch, it's Twitter, it's Facebook, it's Reddit. All of these things. It's information overload. And I guess that's part of the problem. Hell, I am part of the problem. I'm doing it right now. So, you know, as we scramble over one another to get there first, like, look at this, look at this, look at this, I hate it. I really hate that. I hate the bum rush to be first. I truly wish that things could be showcased at release and then not before. But that's not the world we live in now. So, although, you know, I've got to say, it's not always the case, right? Here's a good one. Look at Creative Assembly. Look at what they did with Alien Isolation. They kept that game locked up tight. And I feel they handled it really well, perfectly almost. They showcased elements of the game which didn't spoil it, but they were interesting enough to whet people's appetite. I guess that's how I feel we should be going forward, giving people enough to pique their interest, to create a talking point to discuss, to anticipate, but when you effectively are being given a full release, prior to release, you know, when you get to the big day, it's an anticlimax. I mean, who honestly enjoys looking at their Christmas presents early? It's a big disappointment on the excitement of the day. That's how I feel about this, that's how I feel about the games, you know? They're giving you so much ahead of time that when it actually comes down to it, you're just like, I know this, I've done this, we've got it, it's all done. So for me, I just feel like, is it the right thing to do? And I guess I'm asking that question now because this is the first time that they've done it. It's the first time that they've put the DLC out there twice, almost comprehensively, and enabled it to play. You know, when you've played a lot of FPS, when you play a lot of Battlefield, or, you know, and you've just generally had a lot of experience in the game, it takes quite a lot to keep me interested from a point of view that I have done a lot already, okay? So, as interesting as new maps can be, it doesn't take you very long to figure them out. You know, you can memorize a map in maybe 1 or 2 rounds now. You're like, okay, here's the hill, here's the bunker, here's this little bit here. You got it. You map it as you go, and then once you've got it down, you play it out a few times. I mean, and the thing that's almost worse, with the way the CTE has been operating, is that they've been putting up only one map. So you just play that map all night long. So you really grind it out. Now, the only thing that the only sort of, you know, accolade, or the little sort of, I guess, you know, that I put in here is Metro, okay, Operation Metro. We saw with Operation Metro, with the beta, and the same with Shanghai, these maps actually became very, very popular. So it's not necessarily always the case that just if you play the one thing, it becomes really negative. But, you know, I don't know where to come on this, but I just feel like, is this the direction that we want to move? So, agree, disagree, stick it down below. This is Luton, guys. I'll see you next time.